listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to yet again another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and
Keith Cheatham.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic, wonderful show. We got a lot of good stuff tonight. Ooh, it's going to be a good show.
We?
I have a feeling. I have an inkling.
I have a feeling.
It's going to be really.
Where that word came from.
Actually,
Inkling.
Tonight's gonna be a good night.
I hate that song.
Well, you
I
said
can't
you had a
s-
feeling.
I know.
That's what you get.
I just can't stand that.
Don't say
daggone
trigger
song.
phrases that make random things pop into my head.
I'm sorry.
Trigger phrases.
That is
Not triggered as in like.
See, it made Sean sick.
got a hairball.
I meant. I have a very sporadic mind, so anything can set it off. You say something and
Look,
then I link it to other things. That's
I
just how
no.
It's like that though. It's
Yeah.
like trigger phrase.
Yeah,
I
there's
like that.
nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, isn't that like
Yeah.
that's in our culture? What is it? You're triggered. So
Yeah.
you
Well,
had,
no, I
had a
didn't mean-
triggered
I didn't-
phrase.
I've
I
heard
didn't
that
mean it-
word a lot.
yeah, I didn't
just
mean
never
it
heard
like
trigger
that.
phrase.
Well, here's the thing.
You
But
didn't
whoever
trigger me like
said
offensively. You just triggered my.
true.
Yeah.
And I guess being triggered is we take it as a negative connotation, but I
It
guess
doesn't
you
have
could
to
be
be.
triggered happily.
Yeah, there's
You
a
know?
lot of positive
Triggers.
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 Yeah. You can always be.
I just want everybody said I wanted to say it.
I think of
Triggers.
those. What are those bugs that you get in the
Chiggers?
woods?
Chiggers.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
The-
Yeah.
But I'm
Chigger
afraid if we
trigger.
keep going, we might stumble upon a word that
That's-
gets
that
us
word-
canceled.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say
And I
that
don't
one.
even want to flirt with that word.
I don't either.
So let's just move on.
No
Got a
territory.
great show.
Nagger.
Packed.
Again, you make me think of South Park where he's like doing the Jeopardy or whatever.
No,
and-
Wheel of Fortune.
or Wheel of Fortune, and it has like N blank GGER,
Yeah.
and it was like,
That's good.
sorry, the word was nagger. So then, like, he's ostracized. Yeah, everybody's like mad.
But no, I
it's-
hate that song with a passion.
Yeah.
It just takes me back to
that the
college.
Black Eyed Peas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Will I Am. Oh, it's terrible. It's a terrible song. It was popular on the radio though. But
Fergie Ferg.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
what is that? Oh
Black
gosh.
Eyed Peas.
I'm just saying London Bridge. My London,
Oh,
London
no,
Bridge.
no. See, I wouldn't go that far.
That's a negative trigger.
That one, yeah, that I don't like that one. We could do without that
Yeah.
one.
All right, we can move on.
Yeah.
So I was gonna throw out another one, but I won't.
Today's Bill Murray's birthday.
Oh, it is,
wow,
isn't
yeah.
it?
I wanted to change subjects.
That was it. No, that's
But
a
it is.
good.
It is.
That's
Today's
a
his
talk
birthday,
about a
yeah.
happy trigger right there.
Well, we get into a lot of different things on the show, and sometimes we don't really mention
Excuse me.
things like Bill Murray brings all of us a lot of joy. We
Yes.
all are all Bill
Yeah.
Murray fans.
Yes.
So I think it's sometimes fun to just
Absolutely.
acknowledge that, someone we enjoy in Hollywood that doesn't actually aggravate us
Yeah.
on a constant basis. It's his birthday today.
I think there's literally one person on earth that doesn't like Bill Murray, and I'm married to her.
Are
That
you
is- that's
serious?
crazy.
She cannot stand Bill
How
Murray.
does she not like Bill
I don't
Murray?
know
have no idea. She
anyone who
thinks he
doesn't
looks like a
Bill
creeper.
Murray.
She said he's a
No, his
creepy guy.
brother looks like a creeper.
Hey, that's the reason.
I've seen his son.
He's a fan of
obviously,
Louisville.
with
Okay.
Louisville, but
His
Oh,
brother
that's his
was,
son. That's right, not
the,
his brother.
The guy
That's
in
his
Wayne's
son.
World, the arcade owner.
that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he looks like a
Yes,
creeper.
he does.
You know what?
Looks like a
Happy
creeper.
birthday, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all.
Yep.
The
the
man
fun
who
times you bring us.
crashes wedding parties, bowling parties,
Photo
acc-
bombs.
accidentally broke a guy's nose with a beer bottle.
Yep.
I mean, I would kind of like
He was a zombie.
Yeah, that was
He
a great
survived
movie.
Groundhog Day.
He was in Louisville too, even before his son was.
He's still.
He didn't they
He
filmed
frequents-
Stripes here.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
filmed some
Yeah.
stripes in Fort Knox and
Yeah.
around Louisville, and I actually thought he did
And-
another film in Louisville.
Oh,
But I would have to Google it.
well, this has nothing to do with Louisville. I'm just saying, and
Mm.
Go
we
ahead.
should be seeing him in a month or two,
What?
returning to the theater
Oh,
screen.
yes,
in
indeed.
glorious
We
fashion.
can one
Trigger
can only
phrase.
hope.
Ghostbusters.
Afterlife. Oh.
I'm so excited for that movie. I mean, I love Bill Murray for a lot of things, but that
Yeah.
was, I think, the first thing I was introduced to Bill Murray in, and I love that movie, and
Yeah.
I love all the people in that movie, but it definitely made me fall in love with Bill Murray as well. So.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there is another beloved actor
Yeah.
that
Dan
thought
Aykroyd.
I loved, but after seeing his latest film, I think his best days are behind
Well,
him.
here's the
You talking
thing.
about that little Mexican boy?
No, him and his little rooster,
It's not.
his little
the
cocker,
acting so
are
much-
best days are right ahead of him.
I mean,
Macho?
Macho.
It's more so the directing. Like, I mean, I've
Are you
always
sure?
enjoyed his acting,
Yeah,
He directed it himself.
Yeah,
but that's my point.
That's
And I'm
true.
very disappointed because
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood is I mean, had a great acting and directing career, and then he made this.
We should just dive right into it. We got so much to cover. We got a great story time segment. Just want to give a foreshadowing
I'm
of
ready.
what's to come. We're going to be talking about some crazy conspiracies
I'm
tonight
ready. I got a
in our
good one.
story time. Of things that we believe and even things that we think are just so far-fetched that are ridiculous, but they could be true. So we're going to talk about that tonight in our story time segment. But yes, we shall move on to one another. To none other. Crap, I screwed up the
I'm not really
segue.
sure where you're going.
I screwed up the
We're gonna move on
segue.
to one another.
One another.
You sound like Clint Eastwood in this movie.
I'm senile and an old fart. Here's our review of Cry Macho.
Clint Eastwood has proven himself a prolific actor and director, and at 91 years old, he's shown no sign of slowing down. Even great directors sometimes, however, have their share of duds. Clint Eastwood's latest film promises to put Eastwood back in the saddle, and while we do see him atop a horse wearing an iconic cowboy hat, the days of the man with no name are long gone. Starring Eastwood as Mike Bilo, an ex-bull rider forced to retire after breaking his back, Mike takes on a job for his former boss, Howard Polk, played by Dwight Yoakam, to smuggle Howard's son, who lives in Mexico with his mother, across the border and back to Howard in the U.S. Mike agrees to help, feeling he owes Howard, and makes his way to get Howard's son, Raphael, played by Eduardo Minet. Mike learns Raphael, who goes by Raffo, has become a delinquent who participates in illegal cockfights with his rooster Macho. Now Mike is tasked with keeping Raffo out of trouble and getting him back to his father, while trying to teach him there's more to being a man than being macho. This movie may honestly be Clint Eastwood's worst. While Eastwood has proven himself an incredible director in the past, there are little redeeming qualities to this film, where Eastwood retreads old ground, only worse than what he's given us before. The film has terrible writing, and dialogue is clunky and unnatural, which is fitting as the acting is also clunky and unnatural. Even Eastwood is off his game, with a performance that looks tired and weak. At 91, one can understand that Eastwood isn't capable of doing the things he once could, and that's perfectly alright. But you can't expect audiences to believe a clearly aging man is supposed to be a capable badass. The movie lacks any tension due to this problem as well, as it's unbelievable that a 91-year-old man can fight off crooked police and thugs a third his age. All conflicts end in unbelievably convenient ways so that the characters can escape. With no physical conflict, the movie needed emotional conflict twice as much, and delivers on it even less so than physical drama. Meant to be a story of two unlikely people bonding as Eastwood's character inspires and teaches Raffo what a man really is, the movie's themes are just more of what Eastwood delivered in Gran Torino, but nowhere near as good. Cry Macho as a film tries to pay homage to Eastwood's classical Western beginnings, while encompassing the themes and emotions of his later directorial career. It accomplishes none of this, instead coming off as a tired and sad imitation of Eastwood's greatest works. It's a sad delivery from such a great director. I give Cry Macho 1 out of 4 stars.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
1 out
I
of 4.
just noticed that.
It's
Wow.
Yeah.
What? What'd you just...
Like that was lower than I did 1.5.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going 1.
Yeah, I did 1.
I was going to go
Wow.
1.5 as well.
I did
But I was honestly, I don't know. And here's what I was going to ask you, because I don't think it is. I think it's 2 things. But one was, the question I was going to have was, we've had a string of bad movies recently.
Oh, yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask you, did that affect this at all? Or 2, the other question was going to be, is it just because finally, like you said with Malignant, you're tired of giving scores just haphazardly saying, well, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and even though I'm going to rate it bad, it's not a super abysmal, which this does borderline that, I will admit.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I was honestly more entertained by Malignant than this.
I would
Malignant
agree.
was a
I
terrible
would agree.
movie, but at least there were things about it that were laughably bad. This
Yeah.
is just dull. It does not do Clint Eastwood any justice.
True.
Going from such a prolific career to this and seeing, I mean, it wasn't that long ago he just made Richard Jewell. So we know he could still direct. I mean, I know that was about 2 years ago, but still, and when you get to the point, like I said in the review, where it's this 91-year-old man trying to do things that Clint Eastwood did, even in the 90s, I mean, or even in Gran Torino, which wasn't that long ago, was more believable because he still was able to move physically on screen. You could see, okay, Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, he's old, but he's still capable. In this movie, everything they try to make him seem like he can do, it's like, I can't buy it, because when you see him just, like you said, wide shots of him walking and he's just shuffling and hunched, and it's like, I'm supposed to believe this guy can like punch that guy or
I know.
I
And I thought, again, that kind of goes back to the bad direction. I mean, I don't necessarily think, especially in this movie, Clint Eastwood was the worst actor.
No, he wasn't.
I don't think he was terrible. I think the role he gave himself, which again, I know he wrote the story in such a way. It's based on a novel. I haven't read the novel. I don't know what it's about, or if it's loosely based on it or not, or if it's directly taken from it. But he gave himself a character that had a little bit of yes, he breaks his back. He's an old rancher. He's basically kind of given up on just living life as he used to. He can't be a cowboy like he was before. You see that in his acting, but it's also just, okay, no, this is just an aged, old man. And unfortunately, yes, he still has, I think, some acting chops left in him, but not for this kind of role.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate to say it, but it's more for like $1 Million Baby kind of role. And that was 20 years ago.
The biggest problem for me was any lack of emotion. Like, they try to get, like it's supposed to be he's this role model to this kid and teaching him what real masculinity is, not just being macho.
No.
And it's like, it never lands. There is no emotional connection. They play a similar role to like what you've seen in Gran Torino, which is terrific and well done. So it's like, okay, when you see Clint Eastwood do something with the same theme in a previous movie that's amazing, and you see him try to reattempt it with this movie, and it's just abysmal. It's like, I can't give him any props for that.
I would agree. I would agree. Sean, what about you?
I think in every aspect of a film, this one fell short.
Yeah.
Other than, and like we kind of agreed when we were watching it, was cinematography. It did have some good cinematography. I felt like there was some beautiful scenery. There was some beautiful camera work, but not, like you said, though, they chose shots poorly to show him shuffling along with those wide-angle shots, like you said before the show, or towards the beginning of the show. Like, it's definitely something that I don't feel like flattered him at all.
Yeah.
And especially in his age, which I got nothing against the guy. There's plenty of actors that the older they get, the better they get. But they get better in certain roles. It's like, at some point, Bruce Willis isn't going to be able to be an action movie star.
Yeah.
At some point, you have
I think
you
even
got to let it go. And no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, you've got to let it go and give them something that respectfully they can do. And this was, I almost feel like Dwight Yoakam's character would have been a better role for Clint Eastwood. Just because he doesn't have to really do anything. And it would have been better acted. But again, Clint Eastwood's acting in this was the worst I've ever seen from him. And I've seen a lot of Clint Eastwood. I thought the acting in Dirty Harry was atrocious. It's just an awesome movie.
Yeah.
It's a classic, but he's not that great of an actor in that film. This was the worst. And
by far.
I don't understand the title. Maybe you can help me out on that. I don't understand where the cry part comes in the macho.
Like battle cry, like cry macho, like
okay.
cry havoc and unleash the. It's like only
let's flip
cry
the dog's
macho.
war.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
I think that was
But again, I just didn't. There's no emotion in this film. There's nothing I feel for this kid. There's nothing I feel for Clint Eastwood and the old lady that he hooks up with. There's nothing that well, no, they didn't hook up, did they? You all tricked me.
We tricked you.
I walked away
it
from it.
alludes to it.
They kind of got
kiss.
I don't know.
I was going to say that's it.
They kiss and make tortillas. They hooked up.
He goes back to her at the end of the movie. So
true.
I mean, not only that, but we do get the sense that it's more of a friendship kind of. Oh,
I don't know.
No, not a friendship, but as
she wanted some Clint Eastwood.
Well, I was gonna. Well, so did the younger woman in it. That I thought
that
that was more
that
unbelievable.
That was weird.
That was stupid.
Dude, I totally forgot about that part.
That was
just odd.
Well, really,
Like,
her
I-
character doesn't play a role after that.
No.
Like, it's just she's
It's
forgotten. about
literally just to go chasing after her son. That's
yeah.
it.
No, I
and
thought
she just
I thought
plays.
she was the best actor in the movie.
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
but I do think that
creepy.
I don't know. It,
Oh yeah, it was creepy.
the movie starts off truthfully in the best and worst way possible. You get these vignettes of him driving in this old Chevy truck, and he's driving across the, probably West Texas, East Texas, and it's his beautiful sunset or sun rays gleaming off the trees
It was
and
west
wild
I know.
horses.
It's somewhere in Texas.
But it's like
I couldn't help. He's a West or East.
Well,
That's the
like-
exact opposite.
Southwest
I thought
or
it was-
Southeast Texas.
I thought it was New Mexico or somewhere like that. I don't know. Maybe
I'm
it
pretty
was-
no. It was
Texas?
Texas.
Okay.
It just Texas is south, not
Yeah.
east or west.
Yeah.
But Texas is big. It covers east and
Oh,
west
I
of the United
know.
States.
Yeah.
It's just
Texas
it's like,
is
where is
big.
he? Is he in West Texas, East Texas? We don't know.
He was driving from east to west
Honestly,
at
there's
the beginning.
And then north to south. when
yeah,
he was
then
trying to-
there's a lot about the movie though that they really don't make.
No.
Well, no,
Like,
but that's
there's
not
not
a
a lot of depth.
resolution
There's
at
no-
all.
yeah.
Well, the intro sitting here and making me think that this is going to be a harkening back to an homage.
Yeah.
To we watched a featurette on it, and it was supposed to be this homage to not only him as a
The feature was
cowboy.
better than the movie.
Yes,
It was.
Yeah.
The trailer was better.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, we're going to get this really nice, touching story, not only between him teaching this younger boy how to be a man, but more so a kind of a send off for the old Western cowboy we
From
know from Clint
Eastwood's
Eastwood.
career, yeah.
And yet, then it starts, and you hear Dwight Yoakam speak, and you're like, what is this? And I guarantee the first lines uttered in the movie are the worst dialogue I've heard in a long time.
Dwight Yoakam was terrible.
Oh, no,
he was
yeah,
very
yeah.
bad.
It was awful, and
And again, we've
it's-
seen better
I'm-
acting from him before.
It's so bad.
so-
Freaking Sling Blade.
That's
man.
what I was gonna
he
say.
He is amazing in Sling Blade.
and it was a
And I don't know
far
what
cry
happened. I
from
don't
me
know
and
what
Sling
happened.
Blade. So I don't know. I just from the outset it gave a bad taste, and then like you said, it was just boring from there on out. And even I like what you said in your review, Keith, about how it's obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to bridge this gap not only for the story between him and this kid in the film, but also the hardened old, rugged cowboy that Clint Eastwood played in his younger years to the, okay, he's a softer man and you don't have to be so macho. And I just thought, I was like, it sucks because I know the director that Clint Eastwood can be.
Yeah.
You've got $1 Million Baby. You've got Mystic River. You've got Gran Torino, Richard Jewell, even
Unforgiven,
American Sniper.
Yeah.
I mean,
American Sniper is a great one. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you've seen
Bridges of Madison County.
Yeah, you've
I mean,
seen
God.
what he can do, and this.
Yeah, I mean he can even do romance for God's sakes. But what did he? I don't
True.
know what he was doing in this.
I honestly, I don't know. I hope this is not his swan song, but he's 91 years old. And I hope, if anything, and I think even you hit the nail on the head when we were just talking in general about how Clint Eastwood is probably better now for not. I don't know if he can do both. I don't know if he can act and direct in the same film. It's better that he just directs and leaves it on the screen and lets the actors who
Yeah.
kind of still have it all there
Yeah, his best
doesn't-
works have been.
Yeah.
in
just
recent
directing.
in
Yeah.
recent
Yeah,
history.
yeah.
It's just, when you get a certain age, you're not physically capable anymore. And I mean, acting is exhausting on its own, let alone, and directing is exhausting on its own, let alone doing both,
I mean, there was a
honestly-
couple moments in the film where we all commented. It was like he did something or dropped something or whatever, and we're just like, yeah, they probably didn't want to do another take, so they just rolled. They rolled.
Oh,
with
he
that.
closed the shirt in the trunk, and then he looks at it and just goes, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it
there's
was
a shirt
it was,
sticking out
and
of
it
the
was
trunk.
the best acting in the film because I think it was real. He saw it and he was just like, "Screw it, we're leaving it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
just gonna leave
Yeah.
it dangling there, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, they probably knew he couldn't open and close that trunk again. That took
Yeah.
everything out of him.
They probably had to go take a nap. After that, it was probably so much
Yeah,
energy.
it's like, yeah, it's Clint's nap time.
Well, and another thing, again, something you alluded to in the review is just there was no tension. Every single time there was some kind of
Yeah.
conflict, it was literally either resolved in the same scene or the
Yep.
very next one.
Yep.
There was never a moment of, oh crap, they're not going to
Well, and-
escape
and again,
this.
it's
it was like a PureFlix movie.
Yes. But it's like Sean said when we were watching the movies, like they know realistically he can't get into like these big bar fights and stuff like he would
No.
like back in
No.
the Dollar Trilogy days.
So there was always somebody that shows up and
So, yeah, they
takes
had
over, or the rooster takes over. or
they had to
something.
have some convenient way for them to get out of trouble each time
Yeah.
because he's
every
91.
time the federales we're on to
that-
them.
that
I'm going to
freaking-
turn off the
I'm
road.
gonna
Hold
veer
on
off
tight.
the road here, and they're not going to see our dust trail.
Well, not only that,
It
but
wasn't
it's
even a
literally-
sharp
He said,
turn, it
"Hang
just
on
hang
tight,"
on
and he
tight.
veered left.
Yeah,
I'm
Just
like,
a slight.
yeah. It was like he was merging onto the Gene Snyder. Like it wasn't like he was doing any aggressive maneuvers.
well,
or
I don't know.
anything.
With him being 91, it might have been.
He
It
probably
might have broke a
the
hip.
Gene Snyder
But the
to kill
thing
him.
was, it wasn't like he sped up and then kept
No.
going down once he veered left. He literally,
No.
it's like he got off the Gene Snyder exit and then
Yes.
just sat at the end of the ramp. It's like no, like they can't see
They
you
couldn't
standing at
see
the end
him
of the
there.
ramp. Like yeah,
in the middle of the desert. There's no trees or nothing to
terrible.
hide behind.
it's a flat,
It's like-
flat desert. They were next to like some type
And
of
then
rock or
and then the
whatever, so-
federales weren't even chasing him for the reasons
Honestly,
they thought.
the fact that they kept saying that too, every time it's like, "Oh no, the federales." And I'm just like, can you just say the police?
police.
Yeah, it's like you're
the
or
Mexican
American.
police.
Yeah, it's like you're a 91-year-old white American. Why are you calling them the federales?
Federales. And then like
Yeah.
literally the scene where he pulls up and he's like, "There's a shop. I'm gonna go check it out."
Yeah.
And then he comes out with some like Mexican garb that is like the most generic cliche Mexican garb.
Well, I
And
think
I'm like,
that was them.
I think it was a joke.
No, well, that
It
was
them
them
being
doing the
humorous.
throwback to the Dollars trilogy, like the poncho and the
Yes.
hat, because
Yeah.
he wore that stuff. And I think that was them trying to be like, see, here's Clint Eastwood. He's still a cowboy. And it's
Yeah.
like, no,
even the
he's
way
not.
it played off or
did-
transitioned from
should
scene
have had
to
that
scene.
Should have had that
Bolo
that
tie.
metal plate that he wears underneath.
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah.
You know, in the
yes.
in the movie he wears like the front of the door of a
Yeah.
God dang, a potbelly stove, and it
So,
makes
like-
a bulletproof
Yes.
vest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
been funny if he had that.
I don't know. I just felt like from beginning to end, and honestly, just I didn't care at all the whole movie.
No.
I never once actually got invested in
He
the
learned
characters.
Spanish really quick though. You got to give him that.
Yes, yeah,
did.
Yep. And that was
He went
the
into
no-
Mexico not speaking a lick of Spanish, and like a week later, he came out understanding everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you got to live in the culture. You know, you just got to
Oh.
entrench
You
yourself.
don't need no Rosetta Stone. You
yeah, it's
just
so
need
bad.
to flip tortillas with a
with a
with
an
an
older
old Mexican woman.
an old Mexican widow, and she'll
Yeah.
teach you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys,
Love can do
Terrible
anything.
movie.
do not watch it.
Don't watch it.
Can we say it's a hard pass?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
So here's the question. And I know
Uh-oh.
we haven't fully decided yet, but do we know what we're reviewing next week?
I haven't
'Cause-
even looked to see what's coming
I
out.
thought
Well,
honestly.
Dune or no.
Not Dune. The biggest movie coming out on Friday,
Yeah.
and it's not one I'm looking forward to, but it is a big one.
Oh,
is
gosh.
Venom. Let There Be Carnage.
I think we have to. We reviewed the first.
we did review the first.
and I haven't
Yeah.
even seen the first
Here's
since
the
we
thing.
reviewed it. It's
I-
got to be better
I have-
than Cry Macho.
I have no faith in this movie, but I have this little kernel of hope that I know is not going to go anywhere. But it is Andy Serkis, and granted, his Jungle Book movie on Netflix was not good either, so this probably still won't be. But I'm hoping maybe because Andy Serkis is a legitimately creative person, we might get something fun out of this. But we'll see.
Here's the thing. Based on the trailer, I'm going to ask you all, do you think that at least this time they're kind of letting go and just going to have fun with it?
I think so. I think there's a lot more. They definitely try, and a lot of the jokes were kind of lame, but they did try for a lot more humor with him, like now having to live with Venom as like this parasite, and like their banter back and forth in the trailers. Some of that was pretty good, like when he punched the guy in the car or whatever. Like that was
Yeah.
actually legitimately funny.
Yeah.
So-
No. And the thing is I don't remember really knocking the first one too hard. I've actually watched it
wasn't
recently,
terrible.
and I
It
didn't
wasn't,
think it
yeah.
was that bad.
I don't
thought
think
it was.
I think as far as knowing that it wasn't a Marvel film,
I think
and
I
it
gave
was
it
also
like
not
2.5
attached to DC.
maybe.
I would
Like,
agree.
I
I
didn't
would
think
agree
it
with
was-
that.
yeah, I think I gave it
It was
2.5.
fun. I would say it was fun.
I think we could check it out on our website and find
I
out
didn't
what
hate
we
the
gave
first
it.
Venom. I mean, it was very
The end,
cliche
the
and
end fight scene
stereotypical.
was the worst part
Yeah.
of the movie for me
Yeah.
because it was just
Don't
so
spoil
close.
it because I've actually not seen the first one yet.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
No, he didn't.
I never
go with
went
us.
and
It was
saw
only me and you. I
Really?
remember- yeah.
Oh.
I never went and see it.
I don't.
Okay.
I think that was one of the nights he abandoned us.
Are you sure?
I don't know. There was only one night that I truly abandoned you all, and that was Aquaman. And I
That's
still
true.
haven't seen Aquaman
Wow.
either. There's a lot.
Aquaman was better than Venom.
Well, but apparently too, that was the thing. We thought Venom was going to be at least because it had no attachments to DC at all. It was still Sony.
Yeah.
That
Well,
maybe.
Venom's Marvel.
Well, yeah, no, but Marvel doesn't make the. I
No,
thought
they
Sony
don't. But you
distributes
said
it.
DC. That's why I was confused there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
my
didn't
bad.
even
My
catch
bad.
that he
My
said
bad.
it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
But yeah.
But it's like no,
No, Marvel Studios
because it
doesn't
wasn't
make
attached
Venom.
to any Marvel film.
It's Sony
It was
only.
kind of questionable.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, we
Well,
were also, I think, looking forward to maybe it being darker.
There's
than
the
any Marvel
rumor,
film.
and I think I kind of have a feeling of what Sony and Marvel are doing here because there's the rumor that they're now going to kind of merge in a way, and I think that's where the multiverse comes in, because Sony wants to have like a movie where Venom and Tom Holland and Spider-Man are able to fight, but at the same time Marvel we still want that to kind of be that because it's not that good. So I think that just like with
They're warming
Michael
up.
Keaton appears in the trailer for Morbius, and people are like, oh, that's Vulture in
yeah.
Morbius, but it's not a Marvel movie. So I think that's how they're going to kind of do that.
Disney's letting out a little bit of rope.
I think they're like, okay, look, because of the multiverse, you can do this, but it's still not main MCU.
They're trying
so.
again. They're trying to play nice with Sony to be
'cause
like,
they wanna
see,
keep
we're
Spider-Man.
both exactly.
Yeah.
It's
money. It's money for both of them.
It is,
Yeah.
and especially after the whole fiasco with Tom Holland way back in the day, trying to. They thought that Sony
Trying
was
to get them
not
together
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in fact, we got some news
We
about.
do. We have a bunch of news
We
about
got a bunch
Disney.
of news, but Disney
they're
specifically.
all in the headlines today.
Well, maybe we should we move on to our headlines?
I think we
Yeah,
should.
go for it.
Let's roll that big, beautiful open. Love it.
Oh, he's
Oh, gosh.
That's what it
got the
is.
dog
I was doing
upset.
I didn't
Look
know
at that.
she freaked
That
out.
she did.
Dang.
That's what it is
I was
each
just
week.
You just triggered
Well,
the
I don't
dog.
normally click like that.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the first week I
Oh,
did it.
she does. As soon
She-
as you do it,
yeah.
she turns.
When I do that, she knows.
Yeah.
She was like,
Come here, pup.
She
didn't know which way to go.
No.
She knows. She
no,
knows who
man.
her papa is. That's right, pup. No,
So,
we do have some news.
Disney's getting beat up left and right this week, apparently.
Well, I'm
so.
gonna jump down to. I don't know if y'all see it. You're the third headline. We're gonna talk about that one first.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that
well,
one we just kind of segued into it, but it makes the most sense.
I get it. I mean,
that was late breaking.
Late break.
it kind of was, and I mean, Disney being beat up left and right, they had to come out and kind of admit a fault this week. Sean, you
bit.
found the article. You want to
Little bit.
share it?
No, yeah, it's just Disney CEO Bob Chapek. No, he come out and I wouldn't say he admitted a fault, but he does admit that
not so many
the contracts that they have had for the last 3 or 4 years were quite different than what they're going to have moving forward with a post-pandemic world that we live in. But yeah, so the deal with Scarlett Joe, we've talked about it like 1,000 times on the show.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about it one more time.
We have to because it continues to be in the headlines.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can't,
But
you know.
it sounds like she might actually get paid.
What?
Some more money. I mean, she already made $21 million. She's going to get a little bit more.
How greedy of
They
her.
they are definitely saying that they're going to live up to their contract that they signed with her. It has never changed. They never changed it, so obviously they have to honor that and pay her accordingly. And they say that, well, he says they're going to do that.
They didn't necessarily say that though. And this is where I take qualms with it, because during the conference, he does this little manager dance, which is what CEOs are often famous
that's what
for
they're
anyway.
put in charge to do.
Of course they are, because they don't want to nail down any specifics. He alludes to the policy being changed in the future, but because of the ongoing lawsuit, I don't think he mentions specifically that ScarJo or any he mentions that was the instance in the lawsuit that she brought is what made them kind of reconsider the negotiations.
A lot of these contracts were made, because of the way the nature of filming takes, sometimes more than even a year. He said a lot of these contracts were made 3 or 4 years ago. So,
well, he says right at the end, he says, we will compensate them fairly per the terms of the contract that they agreed to with us.
But that's future tense. And that also does not clarify if the negotiations are set in stone.
yeah, he
because
doesn't-
to me, that's the whole question of her lawsuit anyway, has been, okay, yes, I was fine with the contract we made, but then the times changed, you have a pandemic, and then you changed the rules, and I wanted to renegotiate, and then you didn't even want to come to the table. And you said you got to take it or leave it. And so, of course, I had to take it, and she did, and then she filed the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Now Disney's saying, you know what? We value our actors and our actresses. Our talent is
talent, yeah.
important to us, and we want to make sure we keep them happy. So we're going to make sure that we keep these channels open. It's very cryptic in the way he talks, but there's no guarantee at all.
I think
this
what
is going to
he's-
set forth a precedent that they're going to make sure these changes take place. I think this is just saving face in the public.
I mean, I do think they are, like they said, like restructuring contracts. I do
Yeah.
think, like he said, these contracts were made 4 or 5 years ago, and he never came out and said we were wrong or that we're going. Like,
No,
he never,
no. He
basically
never says her name either.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
never
he
states
no, he
directly that they're going to pay her, but he does say we do have to change how we do contracts because of this. And I think the lawsuit obviously is because of that, like a result of that. They said, well, we don't want to get sued in the future, so we will have to change how we do contracts. But it is kind of like just him saying, look, we know that things change. We have to do things a little bit differently. And he just kind of leaves it at that.
Of course. And again, like you said, as a good businessman would. Because ultimately what he's wanting to do is to secure that. I mean, look, I have no qualms with Disney wanting to make its money. Of course they are. They are a business. But so is Johansson, and that's rightfully what she brought up back in July.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, okay, now that this has been brought to the forefront, and we were even kind of talking about it off mic before the show, it's like, so now you have an A-list actor who has brought this to the forefront, and even for a while there were grumblings whether Emma Stone would join in, or even Rock and Emma, oh gosh, I'm forgetting. Emily Blunt would join in from Jungle Cruise, and none of them did. But it's like, here you have this one star who kind of put their neck out on the line and said, no, I'm not going to let this stand. I am going to file the lawsuit. And now it's, after a lot of mudslinging in the public, you now have Disney at least admitting to them, okay, it's fair.
There may be changes we need to make.
We'll take a look at this in the future.
I think it's like,
that's all they're admitting.
Maybe
here.
we shouldn't, a contract that was made 5 years ago that we changed the terms for. Maybe that should be renegotiated.
I think they're going to renegotiate. I mean, I think they're going to.
I think they're going to let the lawsuit play out.
Her.
I think they're going to let the lawsuit play out, and they're going to try to settle out of court. They do not want this to be any more public than it already has.
I think they'll try to settle out of court
one way or another. She'll get something out of it. That's what I'm saying.
But it also, I think, firmly
they're covering
cements,
their butt for the future.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's all this was. This was a safe PR stunt, a safe face PR stunt for the future. And they also kind of, in this sentence, and the article kind of references this, it's their way of also saying, no, we're doubling down on this release structure. We plan on having smaller releases, be streaming only, and we'll negotiate according to that. But ultimately, we're going to have our tentpole blockbusters carry the weight of the theatrical runs, then come out on streaming platforms.
Disney's been
and we'll negotiate according to that.
He calls like what they're doing right now. He's like, it's the middle ground. Yeah. We're in the middle position where we're trying to do. He says we're trying to do right by the talent. I think the talent's trying to do right by us.
Yeah.
Which is that's the nice way of not calling that person out. Or saying anything bad about her.
After calling her greedy for 20 million.
Yeah. Saying we're all just trying to do the right thing.
Right.
But
Disney and especially Chapek have been very firm on their stance with Disney Plus. So they're not planning on changing release strategies other than maybe going to the 45-day window now that Shang-Chi proved that that's a legitimate way to make money. But they're still very devoted to Disney Plus. So
and I think you just got to give ScarJo credit because ultimately she's holding their feet to the fire.
That somebody had
and if
the backbone to stand
have.
up and say, hey, it's not right. You can't just, go back on a contract. I know things change, but then we need to renegotiate.
Right.
You can't just tough luck. I mean,
well, exactly. And if she wouldn't have raised hell about it and she wouldn't have pushed the lawsuit and then you wouldn't have had others who considered it or at least had some grumblings as well. I honestly don't. I do think that if it would not have gotten in the public eye the way it did, this quietly would have been dismissed.
They would have shuffled
and they would have never been pushed into this corner. And we still don't know. I mean, I think that's still the outcome that we have to hold them to. Because, and I say this in terms of if I've got some kind of deal with Disney, and most people will be like, who cares about a bunch of millionaire celebrities? And I would agree. But if you're not fighting on their behalf, you're fighting on behalf of Disney.
Yeah.
And to me, it really comes down to the fair question is, are they getting what they originally set out to get based on their contract?
It's like, okay, you could say ScarJo's greedy, but is Disney not being greedy? And they stand to gain way more money. So it's really about, you wouldn't want your employer to cheat you, so you shouldn't be okay with someone else's employer doing it to them, regardless of how much money they're making. But who I do think, The Rock didn't, Emily Blunt didn't, Emma Stone didn't, but I think who would have joined ScarJo in the lawsuit had it gone to Disney Plus? Simu Liu, because he's been pretty outspoken against Disney a few times himself, and he's actually someone who it's just anything you see him tweet, he is not abashed of giving his opinion, and it may have cost them their premiere, like being able to premiere the movie in China. In fact, I mean, it pretty much seems like it has.
It seems so, and I would agree with you. It's like it seems like he's pretty, stern.
He's not
on his thoughts and his.
He's
opinions.
unabashed about giving his opinion when he.
Which here's the thing, I'm okay with that as long as I think there is a little bit of this double standard going on in the sense that, again, and I'm surprised, and I think the more in which he, depending on what kind of side he's on and stands firmly with, or I guess the more he decides to dig in.
This isn't a knock against him, but in general, I think he's on his own side. Because he does seem to kind of go with whatever is benefiting him. And I'm not, like, again, I don't mean that in a bad way, because, I mean, a lot of people are like that. They're obviously not going to do something that goes against you, but...
Well, no, but he's even said, like, he sent out a tweet about the Chinese people, and he was, like, trying to basically say it's not their fault that it's not being shown there. It's obviously the government.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, he's saying, no... He's like, he's tried to play this double...
He plays both sides, yeah.
He does. He tries to play both sides in the sense of saying, but, I also think if you're going to look for, ways to throw rocks or ways to find common ground, you can find those arguments easily. And I'm just like, well, it's an easy shortcut way of saying, like, I have my opinions, but I may not voice them if I
for
feel
himself,
pressured.
and he's covering his own butt. He's like, listen, I have opinions about... Obviously, with his family having come from China, I know he wasn't born there himself, but, I mean... He knows. I mean, he's not
Canadian.
Yeah. He's not ignorant to what's going on there, but at the same time, he also knows that Hollywood's his bread and butter. So there's that fine line of
there's a lot of money in China too, though. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I would want my movie to air there if it possibly.
But this is where I think it's interesting because that is the dilemma that's going on. It's banned in one of the largest markets with regard to Hollywood, especially who they've been pandering to over the last several years.
Yeah.
They've been getting more and more dollars there. And yet you also have a Chinese cultural film or a culturally Chinese heavy laden film. And yet your main actor here is of Chinese descent. And so do you bash him? Because then it looks like you're bashing someone who is, you can't go after because of their race. Look like a racist.
I don't know.
So I think Disney.
Him.
No. I'm saying, but Disney doesn't have the option of canceling him and saying, well, we're standing with China, the country, over our own actor.
But I don't think
film.
He said anything really worth canceling him over anyway, in
Not
my
yet.
opinion. But
but the thing, okay, for instance, I would agree, but it wouldn't surprise me. For instance, one of the things that offended China was that he mentioned a drink that he grew up with that came from Hong Kong. Well, China didn't like that because, again, they just basically rushed in and took over Hong Kong against their will, and they don't like free people. They don't like the free initiative that Hong Kong fought through.
He's literally not said anything offensive, but of course, because it doesn't go within the
you don't
indoctrination that China
you really
likes
don't
to
have
spew.
to. I mean, good Lord, all John Cena said was that Taiwan was a country.
Yes.
And that was
that's
enough.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Anything
enough
that does not promote the propaganda China tries to instill in its people,
well,
they automatically are against.
He did mention in an interview that he said, my family fled communist China because they didn't want us to starve.
Yeah.
And of course that upset them
and
too.
That's
even
why,
though it's the truth.
And that's why the movie's banned. And I'm like, you know what?
But
so
again,
be it.
Does that
Hollywood
not
needs...
put Disney in here's the thing. Would Disney not fight every tooth and nail to get a movie released and cut their movie and edit their movie so that it would fit the censorship
they want that money.
from China because they want that money, but they won't do it to this film because the main lead and the cultural undertones of the film are Chinese.
Andy's already kind of insinuated that the film was an experiment or that the way they were releasing it was
True.
experimental.
So then it gets,
so they're already kind of on thin ice when it comes to messing with this film.
It's one of those things where I personally feel like Hollywood shouldn't pander to China anyway. So, yes, I understand you want that money because that is there's about a third of the market in global sales.
Have the Marvel movies performed well in
yes.
China?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what about, like, let's say Mulan? Did Mulan do
No.
any?
In fact, they ridicule a lot
about China don't do good in China.
Well, kind of one of the funny
China
things
typically takes offense to them.
Yeah.
Well, one of the funny things about this is that obviously, even though it's not officially released in China, there's a lot of Chinese people who have seen this movie, and because of the director and his descent or his cultural background of being Chinese, they felt that this was actually much more culturally Chinese than Mulan was.
I've seen a lot of
the Chinese people
viewers
who have actually seen this film praise it over Mulan for that reason.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that you even have people in the country who have seen it secretly against the government's wishes, and they praise it.
Well, again, because it's not about the movie actually being offensive or getting the culture wrong.
Of course.
It's because it doesn't promote the propaganda.
Well,
China
that's it. That's
believes
just
it.
It's not offensive to the Chinese. It's offensive to their government.
Yes.
Yes.
and the government and the people are completely
And it's
different.
not. The film isn't itself. It's the actor in the film.
Yeah.
But this is the crazy propaganda that a dictatorish, that a tyrannical government would go to. They want to make sure that every part of the messaging is controlled. And if you're against that messaging, then you're not going to get and this is why I think this is a huge rift, because only with a film like this will you not have Disney or America, the American Hollywood establishment, trying to fight to get a movie released in China, or editing it in such a way that it will be released in that country to get more dollars. They won't do that because then they know the backlash on the back end against the movie itself and the stars and the people who were part of the filmmaking process. And so it is weird to see this kind of interesting dynamic of, yes, in that way, I think you do have all these different races and cultural backgrounds being kind of risen up above the normal establishment, credos and establishment politics behind the scenes with regards to releasing in certain areas, because they can't fight that battle. So they almost have to take the loss. And my question is, if you're going to take the loss on that front, then why don't you take the loss on the front of other films and their artistic expression? Why are you willing to allow certain films to either be edited or writing to be changed and not, just so it can release in a market to get more money at the sake of our own principles and our own values? We should not allow that.
Or even, at the sake of someone like Simu Liu, it's like, okay, obviously someone who is working in America, who's now Chinese America, originate from Canada or Chinese Canadian. He may not be a citizen in America yet. I really don't know. But anyway, someone who actually does eschew American values. It's like, why would you toss him to the side just for the sake of the money in China? And I mean, and production companies are happy to do that because they want that money, and that's what bugs me. It's like, if you can get released in China, I don't mind, because I understand you want that money, but you shouldn't bend over.
Certain ones,
yes,
they've proven in this instance they're not.
Yeah. Well, no, this
Obviously,
one
because-
won't. But I'm just saying,
right.
I'm talking about in general. In general, if a movie can be released in China, and I understand wanting that market, needing that money, that's fine. But I don't think you should go through all the extra hoops to make cuts and edits, like you're saying, just to get it there. If you have to destroy your movie to get it in China, then say screw the Chinese, or at least the government. I don't mean the people, because it's not their fault. Just screw the Chinese government and don't release your movie there. It sucks you don't get the money, but
We should fly planes over there and just drop copies of it
yeah.
with little
Spread it like
parachutes.
they spread something else about a year ago.
What's funny though, because
I'm just
Captain
saying.
America released in China. That was actually, those movies were very popular in China. It's like, it's funny that Captain America can air in China, but they won't allow a Chinese movie to air in China.
I haven't seen the
because
Chinese edited version, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what. Well, I know I think the name is just called The First Avenger. They
Yes.
didn't. I mean, he's still called, I think, Captain America in the movie, but they changed the title to just The First Avenger.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the edits they did for Chinese release. And I'm like,
But I think we've seen this. We've seen this
dumb.
with every bit of our culture in terms of entertainment. And again, we've talked about it on the show before, is that, politics is downstream from culture. And that is ultimately where you have to make your fight and wage the war. Because if you do not win the culture, it will subside to those that have the will to enforce their version of the culture. And I think that's what we've seen in terms of, the American market is still strong. And we still, and we're these very independent, isolated minds of, well, I don't care if anybody else likes it, I like it. But at the same time, if that worldview diminishes to the degree that you don't have that luxury because you have an overlord who's willing to push down their views on you, and you don't have that freedom, and that's exactly what China is. And China has they're not trying to hide it. They don't care to mention it. They're outwardly saying, no, he spoke out against our country and our values. We won't allow that to be shown here. And I think that's absolutely not only absurd, but Disney should then fight it with, say, oh, well, if Shang-Chi's not going to be shown there, and it's a culturally relevant film, and your people would love this film to see it, well, then you're not going to get the rest of our slate.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the moment you start pulling any huge, the NFL, but they don't have they don't have the balls to do it.
Oh,
they
no,
don't.
no.
Because again, they think, oh, they're leaving so much money on the table, and it's like, but you don't understand the markets you have fled, where the money would come back in and come rushing in.
Yeah.
But you want to go after this one particular market because you think that if you just cave to them and cater to them, you're going to constantly get rewarded. And I think, it's a gravy train for a while.
Yeah.
But you're going to be set up
they're
for
going to own us.
Yeah. And you're trading a hell of a lot more. You're trading more of the soul of the country than anything else. And again, these businesses don't care, but that's all the more reason you have to change the culture underlying the social fabric. Because if you start there, then I think I mentioned it before the show even started. It was like ultimately businesses are amoral. They don't care.
Yeah.
They only care about their bottom dollar.
Yeah.
They care about making a buck. And at the end of the day, if the culture shifts to another certain, perspective, then they're going to follow.
Yeah.
Because if that's where the money goes and they know there can be money made there, then they're going to tap into it.
Yeah.
And that's what businesses ultimately will do. And we got to shift that. We got to change that perspective. And that's what we do here every single week on the RM podcast. All righty, guys. I think we're ready to move on to our Storytime segment.
Good.
Let's do it. Let's roll that open.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
Here we can.
Man, got hot ears tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Hot ears.
Yeah, it's just like they're sweating in this. I think I got COVID ears.
Oh.
Got COVID.
I got like a temperature in my ears, but not anywhere else.
Is it throbbing?
No,
not
just
throbbing?
No, that's something else.
Well, hey,
Just sweating.
it's my heart
Let's
every
say,
night on Tuesdays. It's always
Is it
throbbing.
that like old wives say, like when your ears are burning, someone's talking
Someone's
about
talking
you.
about
So
me
somebody
right
might, I
now.
guess somebody's really talking about you. Both your ears are hot.
What's
Yeah.
going on?
It's two
Somebody's,
people. Two people
man.
talking about me.
Can you hear them? If you listen real closely, you think you can hear? What are they saying?
I don't know that that's how that works.
Wonder if he can hear them. Let's see if he can hear them.
I think it's a conspiracy.
Show me the money.
Yep. I just heard somebody say, "Show me the money."
Wow.
That's crazy.
Who could that
we were
have
just
been?
talking about China and money and all, and then somebody said that.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like
y'all-
that one was
that was
louder
the-
than "Show Me the Money."
that was
y'all
the
hear
other
it too?
person.
That's loud. If y'all can hear it too.
that I can.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
really no wonder your ears are throbbing.
the
It's weird. It's like random. Like they're really hot
Yeah.
and sweaty.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our story time segment.
Sweaty ears.
Put a little like ice pack in your. Just keep it there.
You know what's funny
don't
about
know what's
sweaty
going
ears? What I heard about them?
What?
I don't care.
I heard that
It's
if
like what you heard about
what
them?
I heard about them.
Yeah.
I heard that sweaty ears come from those who have. Oh, I can't come up with
Yeah,
it.
Wow.
He's trying.
I was
I can
waiting.
tell. I was watching.
I was like, I've
he's
heard what they
trying.
said
I
about big
can't
feet.
do. I
What do
can't
they say
do it
about
on the
sweaty ears?
spot. I can't do it on the spot. Need
All right.
big earmuffs.
yeah,
That's all I
be
got.
bigger earmuffs.
No, I was trying to come up with a conspiracy.
Well,
Yeah.
I got one.
There's all of. Oh, he's ready.
Yeah.
I got one.
He's ready.
I researched this.
I looked through a bunch of them
Research
because
this.
there's,
Oh, wait,
there's
wait,
all
wait.
kinds of them.
Yeah.
You gotta mention. Do you believe it?
Actually, after researching it,
Uh-oh.
just took 1 hour for me to kind of think,
Oh, man.
that could actually, that's legit.
Is this a different one than we know of?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my, he's all about this.
Yes.
Keith.
I had never heard, but you guys can.
No, you can go ahead. I just looked through lists.
So, I
of
mean, are you
popular-
going to introduce the thing? You didn't even introduce
I
it.
did. I just
Did
said
you?
crazy conspiracies.
Crazy conspiracy
Yeah, I
theories.
I
mentioned
don't
it at the
recall
beginning
that.
of the show.
You
and
did,
then-
but I don't recall at the end of our
of the
story time
Storytime
segment
I
that you
just
told
did
people
like 3
what
seconds
it was.
ago.
Did you pull up? Did you pull up the?
I just said the reason why the segue didn't work is because I said I was trying to come up with a conspiracy.
Well, I
Okay.
know,
Crazy conspiracy.
Okay.
but I feel like we never officially stated this segment is about conspiracy theories.
You just did.
I wanted. Now everybody knows. Now that everybody knows, we can go.
No, I want to hear Sean.
Okay.
I want
So
to hear about it.
I was obviously, you guys know that there's several conspiracies that I have delved into. I said delved,
Delved,
not dwelled.
not dwelled.
Oh,
But
I don't believe
I did,
any of them, but I love
So
conspiracy
I
theories.
have talked to y'all. I've talked to y'all about the moon landing. I've talked to y'all about Kennedy. I've talked about Pearl Harbor, 9/11, all these things. So, but this one just really, this one sparked my interest. I'm gonna actually have to do some more research into this.
Oh man.
So there are a very large amount of people that believe that William Shakespeare
Oh yeah.
did not write any of his own work.
yeah.
I did not know this. This is new to me.
Oh yeah.
But
bacon.
that was one of the theories.
No, that's
Kevin
that's,
Bacon.
I know.
Not
I've heard
Kevin
Kevin
Bacon.
Bacon, yeah.
But I
No,
forget,
I'm just kidding.
I forget his first name. I just remember it's Bacon.
No,
So-
it is Kevin Bacon. 6
Yeah,
degrees of
6
Kevin
degrees.
Bacon. Yeah.
So
I'm being serious.
some
here,
of the
Brandon.
some of the evidence for this intrigued me. One of the things was the fact that William Shakespeare, not only would his name not have been William Shakespeare because of the time that he grew up, that name wasn't even like in the area that he grew up. I forgot the name of the.
Well, he invented a lot of words, so maybe he gave himself
1,700 different words he supposedly invented,
Yeah.
including
Bathroom.
undress was one of the words that he invented.
Yep.
But anyway, so where he grew up and with his parents being glove makers and them none of them knowing how to read or write, he never had a formal education. There's a lot of question to how he became so literate and how he became so well educated. There are no instances of him ever attending, directing, or having anything to do with any of the plays that he ever wrote. He did not like to travel. In fact, he didn't have the means to travel, so they questioned the legitimacy of how he would know about the city of Verona, how he would know about all these different locations and their cultures and the way places worked and different people talked and all this stuff, because he would have never gotten out of his own town.
called Google. Duh.
They didn't have Google. He invented that word. There was also the fact that there are absolutely no documents that include his signature other than his own will. And in his will, his signature does not match the handwriting of any of his written work at all, like not even close. In fact, they said his handwriting was so unlegible that they're pretty certain he didn't even know how to write. In fact, he was illiterate. He spelled his own name wrong. So he wrote a will, which is very short, and in the will, he doesn't mention any of his plays, any of the rights to any of his works after he dies, anything like that. In fact, they said at the time of his death, he had 18 unpublished or unfinished works, and he didn't leave those to anybody, didn't mention them, doesn't mention his profession at all in his will.
It didn't mention the last word he came up with, copyright?
No.
Oh, okay.
It literally just says my horse, my couch, it's like this stuff. Nothing.
Here's
about
the
his
thing:
work.
they literally have this will on file.
Yes, absolutely.
Why would they keep a will of some rando?
Because he's
William
Shakespeare.
But that's the thing: if he's some rando and
So-
didn't write it,
right.
why would
well,
they care?
here's what they think. They think that a rich patriarch.
Francis Bacon. I had to find out the first
They
name.
think he actually wrote the works because not only does his handwriting match almost 100%, he has written in the language and manner in which he writes is almost on par with the way William Shakespeare wrote. So they think because he grew up in the monarchy and it was looked down upon for you to be a writer. That was actually a pretty lowly profession.
Okay.
So they think that he had this passion and was very talented and very smart, that he wrote these things and paid William Shakespeare to be kind of like his persona, and that's why he picked this lowly, kind of low-level, nobody guy, and that's why that obviously his handwriting doesn't match, his education doesn't match, and I forget, there was quite a bit other, but they actually think there's documentation that this Francis Bacon wrote where he actually included codes in his writings that point to the fact that he wrote Shakespeare's
so
plays.
we just need a cipher.
They do have a cipher.
They do. Oh gosh,
They do have a
Of course
cipher.
they do.
So
If there's one thing I've learned about conspiracies,
Yeah,
there's
it's
always
insane.
an answer.
It's
There's
insane.
always an answer to any question you have.
Yeah.
They've figured it out. It's written out.
that's very interesting.
I'm glad you brought that one up.
I don't know if I believe it, but it's very
It
it's
gives
very
you.
interesting.
You're intrigued to find out
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an interesting conspiracy that I had actually forgotten about until you just mentioned it, because it's always something that fascinated me, because it's something that I had actually looked into like several years ago. I have the whole collection of Shakespeare because I like Shakespeare.
I forget what they call the people that don't believe that it's something to do with the name of his town.
It's they have the theory is called Baconian theory of Shakespeare authorship, but they
Yeah,
do
but
have
they're-
I know what
they're,
you're talking about.
Do you have the name of his town? I forget it too. I'm just curious.
yeah,
what
it's a long. It's three names. I
forget what it's called. The town he was born in.
the
Shakespeare
town
was
that
born.
Shakespeare was
Yeah,
born
yeah,
in?
Shakespeare was born
Yeah.
in. I completely forgot.
Well, I'm on
And
Francis Bacon.
As soon as you say
I got a wiki.
look
William
up
Shakespeare.
Willie
William
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
Bill Shakespeare.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Stratford upon Avon.
Yeah, that's it.
So
yeah,
they're
yeah.
Strat.
Yep.
They're
Stratford upon Avon.
no, they're Stratfordist, anti-Stratfordist or something like that.
I
Literally.
can see that.
No,
what
literally.
they're
Like look
called?
it up. Yeah.
All right.
See, my favorite conspiracies are the X-Files kind. That's why I always
was gonna
love
say the
Mulder and
UFOs.
X-Files. Well,
Yes.
just anything, like not just
There's a really
UFOs,
good documentary on
anything.
Netflix
Oh yes,
about UFOs.
I know. Thank you.
Are you serious? Wait. Is it? Have you watched it?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
watched.
it's on
you watched
Netflix.
several
I've not
episodes of
seen
it,
all
yeah.
of it yet, but yeah,
It's very good.
I gotta watch it now. just
I
like
just-
it's just fun.
I don't, but I like. I mean, I love X-Files anyways. But I mean, I've always been more. I mean, I'm a huge Stephen King fan, so supernatural and horror and stuff like that always fascinated me. So just seeing like those type of like I like getting into not the like Bigfoot sightings type thing, but like the conspiracies that like the government obviously knows more than they let on. Like we have like all the UFOs.
Oh, no
Area
doubt.
51,
I do believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even with the stuff they released this year, it's like whether it's extraterrestrial in origin. I'm not saying I believe that. I do believe the government knows about these like different, like whether they're spy crafts from other countries or whatnot. There's secrets they have. Anything
Right.
that the common people don't know. I mean, that's just a government in general.
Is that does this lead into one of the crazy conspiracies you believe in?
I don't believe in any crazy conspiracies.
Do you have
so-
one in particular that you're like on the edge of this might
I don't
be
know. I
true?
probably don't go down the rabbit hole enough for any of that.
I
Any
gotcha.
of them. I mean, there's lots of
Which
them.
was
I
it-
was,
okay,
I
which-
was re-
which
I mean,
one of your
there's,
favorites, then?
I was reading just today. I was looking at like it was like the whole 9/11 attacks thing. So
Yes,
there's
yeah.
things I was reading that it's like I could see how you could connect these dots, but at the same time, and
I
I
was
think.
going to say there's always an answer.
But here's the thing,
They-
at
they
the same
research this
time,
to find answers.
being a realist, I also realize that yes, people can be intelligent, but also we're collectively pretty stupid sometimes. There's a lot of human error.
Yeah.
And there's things that they'll put in there. It's like, well, we got 12 warnings about 9/11. It's like, oh, I absolutely believe that. We had warnings about Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
Every natural disaster
Yeah.
we get
Ignored
warnings about. The problem is not even just, ignoring
It's
it
ignorance.
is the fact
it's like
that
you either don't take it seriously,
either
or
they
doesn't
don't
go
take
through
it
the proper
seriously,
chain.
or do I think we need to be better about that? Yes, but at the same time, you have to realize we do just like with Pearl Harbor, we get a lot of false alarms too. So to having the manpower and the people,
we've also
to,
seen what over the last year the extreme on the opposite end
Yes.
of too much security and too much for your safety.
Yeah.
does.
So it's one of those things where
And
it's
it can
like,
drive you
There's
nuts
plenty
and
of
up the wall.
conspiracies around that too.
yeah, oh
So-
yeah,
Yeah, but I would say
just being tapped.
They
you
all.
know?
Here's the
Yeah.
thing about conspiracies. To me, and this is my opinion. They all have intriguing arguments to me.
Oh yeah,
They all have evidence that is either very coincidental or completely made up.
yeah.
But it's all that with 9/11 you have the fact that they found thermite at ground zero, which is only used for imploding buildings. They had 3 jets that were supposed to be on call to fly and stop anything from coming near the White House or the Pentagon. And those 3 jets happened to be pushed the night before down to freaking Louisiana to do some kind of training thing, and they weren't there, so they couldn't stop the plane from hitting the Pentagon. That's those things could be total coincidence.
That's what I think. Yeah.
And that's the thing, though, is it's all when you put all of those coincidences together, it's an impossibility without it being a conspiracy.
Right. Well, and
But-
but again, what is a disaster? A
Right,
disaster
yes.
it simply is
Yes,
all
I mean,
things going
Katrina,
wrong.
Katrina itself.
Yeah.
The fact that the levees weren't maintained. That's
Right.
not. They didn't not maintain them on purpose. They were just neglectful.
Yeah.
So the levees broke. The fact that this happened to this. I mean, it's like, come on, man. It's just like freaking Kanye saying. The thing about Bush hates black people.
George Bush
and all
don't
this
like
stuff,
black
it's
people,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. I love the quote in "Live Free or Die Hard" that God, what's the kid's name that plays in that with?
Oh, you're talking about the old Apple guy? Or you
Yeah,
talking about the guy in
the Apple guy. I forget his name.
Edward.
Justin
Justin Long.
Justin
yes.
Long.
Yeah,
Justin
he
Long,
says
yeah.
like something about they're not gonna. It's not gonna take this long to do it. And he's like, it took FEMA 7 days to get water to the Superdome, or whatever. And I'm like, again, it's not a conspiracy that they tried to
Just,
neglect people.
yeah, starve.
It was just it's just
Crap happens.
Yes,
and,
yeah,
and
exactly.
people aren't prepared.
Yes.
Right, but I mean, I agree. I don't know. To me, the thing that I like about conspiracies is, other than just being a fun like campfire story.
Yeah. It's a rabbit hole to go down.
It is exactly, but it's also what I love about it too is the one thing they all have in common is they keep you questioning authority. And I'm okay with that as long as you don't go so far down the rabbit hole. Because if anything, if it keeps you inquisitive of asking questions, then again, that's what I love about conspiracy theorists is the ones who have theirs that they latch onto, they do go down the rabbit hole and they do find the answers. Even though, like you said, so many things are about finding a needle in a haystack and they found the needle.
Oh, yeah.
And then they've got it all
If you
matched
look
up.
long enough, you'll find it.
Well, of course. And that's how so many of them can be contrived to fit a certain narrative. But at the end of the day, regardless of, just crap happens, I also do like people who are just constantly saying, again, every point in history, you've got somebody who's willing to point the finger and say, well, this was planned. And this all has been planned to get to this point, and that's where they're working towards. And I'm like, yeah, hindsight's 20/20. Whether you believe in a certain ideology that gets you there or not, and it's easy to see, like, the dominoes are affecting down the road and we know where they're headed, doesn't make you an actual genius. But regardless of that, it's those who are sitting here saying, well, no, the writing's been on the wall for 20 years and we're headed that way.
Conspiracy theorists have existed. I mean, look as far back as just our founding fathers with, the Illuminati.
The Freemasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
No, I'm not, okay. Now,
this is not
it's
a
right
new
there
thing.
on the back of our dollar
Dollar bill.
bill.
That's right.
But it's not a new thing. It's like as long as, and because of just people in nature and in general, I mean, we're inquisitive. We can be mistrusting. I mean, as long as people have existed, we've tried to come up with explanations for things we can't explain, and we get conspiracy theory. And in fact, those are my favorite conspiracy theories, are the ones where you don't really have a name. Like, that's why I kind of like the UFO
thing.
Because I was looking up the one that I'm most familiar with. I was trying to find it because it's one that I've always been intrigued by is a police squad in like Florida back in, I think, the 80s. It was like 3 different policemen that saw the same thing. And it's like, those are one of those things where it's like, one random person alone says, oh, I saw this thing in a field, when 3 police officers who you want to trust because they're the police.
The one about the Navy pilots saw I was like, I was a little bit more like, okay, I do trust them. I'm not thinking they're
it's not just some redneck in the backwoods going, he took Dale out in the woods and
I've
he
been
just
probed.
Yeah.
But no, well, it's funny you brought up the Illuminati because, all right, good times. I watch him for entertainment because he is entertaining. Alex Jones was on Tim Pool last night, and I had to tune in because anytime I see Alex Jones, I'm just like, oh, what's he saying? This is great. I don't watch his normal show because I can't take it. It's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
But the dude, and this is the weird thing. Talk about somebody who knows their facts. They will read.
He has to know the facts to be able to.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Be convincing,
Yeah, and he'll go down the rabbit hole of connecting all of these scientific papers that he's drawn, and then he'll say, well, this is the bigger picture, and he'll literally arrive at this thing that he could easily explain, and he can say, no. This is what they're headed towards. And if you look back at this, remember I told you about that. I was right. So you got to believe me.
Yeah.
And he was going on about the Illuminati. And the funny thing is he'll break it down. He'll break it down in such a way that you start to sit there and you're kind of shaking your head like, all right, it's actually, that kind of makes sense. And then there's papers like Tim Pool pulled up a paper from the Library of Congress that was literally Thomas Jefferson writing to this guy who was warning him about the Illuminati, and it says Illuminati in the paper.
Yeah.
And again, even Jones is just like, he's like, no, this is real. He's like, look, the Illuminati doesn't mean any. It's not like some voodoo thing like we think of today. It just means the enlightened. And it's like these people had their group that they called that, and I was like, okay, that actually is conceivable.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then they just went in and invaded these institutions, and then they wanted to create all these institutions where they could have child sacrifices and drink blood. And I'm like, whoa, where's he going?
He went from believable. He went from believable to wait a minute.
But then he'll sit there on another tirade and explain how he got to that, and he makes these huge leaps, and it's just so hilarious.
Well, there is like
it's funny.
There is a conspiracy or myth or whatever about like the richest people in the world like
Oh, yeah.
getting together somewhere
Yes.
in California or so
They make
get
like
together.
child sacrifices
Yeah.
and drink
Oh
the blood.
no!
What's that called?
There's this thing, and I'm blanking on the name, and I actually did look this up, and there's a Wikipedia article. Which,
Oh, yeah.
hey,
There's
it's on
a
the
lot of
internet.
stuff out
It's
there.
true.
Yeah.
But no, this actually there's video evidence of this that was filmed. And it was
That's how you
from.
know it's real.
It was back in like I think the late '90s or early 2000s, and this was there's this ritual in this wood. It's in a redwood forest somewhere.
See,
and I
that
forget-
already creeped me out.
It's some kind of
People
Call it
doing
a ritual,
ritual. Yeah.
no, and that's what I'm saying. It's literally about, I forget, it's this owl god or something. You'd have to look it up. It has a certain name.
But it's like
I'm
the
gonna
rich,
I'm gonna Google it
powerful-
right now.
No,
the richest and powerful people in the world or
well,
something try to go,
it's
right?
all of these world leaders, these politicians, along
Yeah.
with these, like all of these. Yeah, no, look it up seriously.
Bohemian
And,
Grove?
One of the presidents.
Bohemian
one of our-
Grove?
Bohemian Grove.
Yes,
that's
yes,
it.
one of the
Yeah.
presidents.
Well, they've had sightings of apparently every single president
I have actually
has
heard of that
gone
before.
to it since, like, I think either Dwight D. Eisenhower or even back to FDR.
It takes
I forget
place in
how-
front of the Owl Shrine.
Yes, see?
Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it back. Let me pull the
you.
four out.
It's insane.
This is like a legitimate
All
thing.
male membership includes
They have, like,
artists and
huge-
musicians, as well as many prominent business leaders, government officials, former
Yes.
U.S. presidents, senior media
Nixon went.
executives.
Nixon
and-
was there.
Yeah.
I don't think Reagan went. I think the George H.W., the first one,
Reagan
went.
wouldn't.
Reagan didn't go because he was actually
Reagan
he
wouldn't
was
do
Reagan.
that.
But I don't, I don't know. I may be corrected on that. Maybe Reagan did go. I don't think he did. But I'm just saying, like, it's this secret society where they do these weird rituals. It's no cameras allowed,
Yeah.
no press,
Yeah.
there's no videotaping,
Yeah, no women.
and there's
Yeah.
apparently like all these men. They have huge mass gay orgies. Like, I'm dead serious.
So it's our lake trip.
every year.
They're just doing what we do. Just the rich and powerful.
We're just we're missing the owl. That's
Yeah, we
it.
just
Yeah.
ain't got the money. You know,
we don't have an owl shrine. We do have a little Jesus statue.
That's
though.
right.
We turn
But he
him
never
around.
Watches.
Yeah, we don't let
gets
him
turned
watch.
around.
We feel ashamed.
But no, look
As
up
we should.
Bohemian Grove. It's documented as
Yeah.
a legitimate
That
thing.
stuff's crazy, man.
Now, as far as the accusations of what happened in there, I have not seen the video. But apparently, Jones has went on his show before about this video evidence
Mm-hmm.
that he's had, and there was apparently. He said it was linked to him, but there
Man, I'm
apparently
gonna go
was an
home and watch the
intruder that was
conspiracy stuff
that
all
literally,
day.
that literally did sneak in to the Bohemian Grove site, and they did take video.
Hmm.
And that's apparently what got released and what launched this whole thing about
And
people
yet
finding
nothing's
out
been
about
done about it.
it. Well, no, because it's a secret society.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, here's the thing. I mean,
isn't that how?
but here's
Isn't
the
that
thing.
the thing with most conspiracies. How does this go? How does this fly without anybody
Okay,
doing
but
anything
look at-
about it?
okay,
Well,
look
because
at
all the
Epstein.
most powerful people are
Look
in
at
charge
Epstein,
of it.
though.
Yep.
Like Epstein, he suffered the consequence. He died, and then everybody who was
They
involved,
killed him to shut him up.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what
They employ
the
And then
most
what
powerful
happened?
people had him killed to shut him up.
they employ the Bohemian Grove Club, the Bohemian Club.
It's
they
a club, yeah.
They employ ex-military personnel as their security to keep people out.
See, they
Yeah.
they try to keep it under
Nice.
wraps.
Got them Blackwater boys doing.
But see,
doing
here's
their
that's
work.
the thing. Epstein gets killed, and then everybody who was ever involved with him just stays shut up.
Yeah.
And anybody
Well,
who has
yeah,
any
why
proof,
would they? They're not going to get killed.
But that's my point. Is if you have this super secret, like, okay, we're going to
It's
keep this
Hillary
under
Clinton.
wraps, and there's no physical evidence to link you back.
Yeah.
Why would you say anything?
I agree.
I mean, I have no doubt.
Alex Jones and even freaking Glenn Beck are pushing the Great Reset. That's the big thing now.
Oh
the
yeah,
Great
no,
Reset.
he is. He is. He's
Yeah.
pushing it hard, and I just think it's funny because I listen to him because he's more entertaining, just to see the rants he goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some others. Like I think to me the better conspiracies are the ones that are modern made.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have like the whole we're just living in the Matrix. It's just a simulation.
Yes.
And then like you also have like
I don't find those as much fun as like Al Grove or
Al Grove.
That's what it'll be now. Or even the Great Reset.
That is a
Because
movie
the Great
right
Reset's
Because those are the
Interesting.
ones
You can see that crap
it's like-
unfolding
it's
right
like,
before your
I don't
eyes.
believe we're
I
in the
agree.
Matrix, but the Great Reset, like that, those are the ones that have
But
just
see-
enough plausibility
Yeah.
that they're creepy.
But here's
Yeah,
the thing:
yeah.
it's little things like that, or even, for instance, like Metal Gear Solid 2 with the Patriots, and there's
Oh,
like
yeah.
this super deep state.
so brilliant.
Yeah. Like,
because
it's-
you can absolutely see how that could be true.
Exactly, and so and you see it happening now with censorship.
Yeah.
and it's so weird that came out
Memes.
in 2001.
Metal Gear Solid 2,
Memes,
all about memes. Yeah.
And then you see like stuff like this where it's like, okay, yeah, the Matrix simulation thing may not be interesting, but the fact that it leads people to think in terms of, oh, this is all just made up. We can steer our own reality.
Yeah, it's all a construct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you engineer it in a certain way and get people thinking that,
Oh, yeah.
that leads to things like the Great Reset.
That's how Scientologists got to power.
It's
You
freaking
lead people
creepy,
into
man.
thinking, that everything is a mental state, and as long as you perceive yourself to be happy, which I mean, there is some truth to if you act happy, you are happy, but not in the crazy way Scientologists believe that there's no such thing as psychology or psychiatry. That's
You know
all
what's
just,
interesting? You just really gave me some fuel to throw at Tom Cruise. He's all about the vaccine, but Scientologists don't believe in vaccines. They don't believe in
Well,
medicine.
we talked about that on the show.
They
don't believe in
normally
medicine.
don't.
Why-
Yeah.
what- I
Everything
thought
is
he
supposed to be
wasn't.
mind over matter.
He wouldn't
I
even
haven't
let
heard
his
him
wife
speak out
have
about it, though.
painkillers when she was
I don't know.
giving
Yeah,
birth and
actually,
stuff.
he's about the mask, but I haven't heard him say anything about
I
the
haven't
vaccine.
No,
so.
I don't think he said one thing about the vaccine, so I can't say he's pro-vaccine.
I
don't
guarantee
know.
you he's got it.
No.
I
No,
just
I don't
think-
think he has.
You
I
don't
think
think he has?
he's all about the mask and social distancing. I don't think he's got the vaccine.
But it's
Hell
yeah,
no.
you're supposed to be able to heal
wanna
yourself
find
with the
out.
power of your mind.
But
you
here's
know?
the funny
So-
thing: why would he get publicity for years ago for being the Scientologist that he is?
Oh, yeah.
and not believing in this stuff. And now it's where do you hear a peep about him? No, because again, heaven forbid we put somebody on a platform that would speak out against.
Well, there's
it.
a good question.
'Cause
If
he's
let's
not
say,
said
let's say he
anything.
hasn't. Let's say he hasn't been vaccinated. How's
He's
he
not
gonna
speaking out
How's
against
he going
it?
to make movies though? Because they're trying to set it up to where you can't even come on a set
No,
unless you're
well,
vaccinated.
just like the rant and the tirade he had on Mission Impossible. He went after the people who didn't socially distance, who didn't wear their masks, and he said, "If you do not do this,
but
I
what
will
if it's-
quit."
but what
I'll
if it's
shut
like
this set
masks
down.
and social distancing. That's a thing of the past.
Now
it's all the
mandatory-
vaccine.
Yeah, it's like Sean Penn. Like every set Sean Penn works on mandatory vaccination.
you
I
have
don't
to
know.
be.
I'm not. It's
I don't know.
contradictory
We
as
need to
hell.
write a letter.
But I'm just saying, even if Tom Cruise came out against the vaccine and said, "No, this is the best
I
thing,"
honestly-
I don't think anybody would put him on air for it.
Going into some of the conspiracy stuff, I was actually reading about some because it's basically a conspiracy theory too. Scientology.
Oh yeah.
But I was going into
Yeah.
because I was talking about reading
It
about how
falls into
even
cult status.
L. Ron Hubbard was a mediocre sci-fi writer. Like he didn't make a lot of money writing sci-fi until he turned it into a religion. And apparently he had been quoted as saying, "It's like that's where the real money is at." It's like if you ever
Well,
want to
of
make,
course.
he said, if you ever want to make real money,
Well, yeah, look
come
at
up
Joel
with
Osteen.
come up with a religion. And what happened?
Yeah.
So I'm just
Battlefield Earth.
Actually,
Or
that
no,
is-
no. What was the name of his movie?
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield
Yeah,
Earth.
yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
That's
But
one of his
actually,
books.
you talk about that. There is. I think the movie came out last week actually, and I do want to see it.
Battlefield Earth. They remade
No.
it.
It was a smaller film called Tammy Faye, or Life of Tammy Faye or whatever. But it's
Well, I'll
got
Google that too.
Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield.
That's all
in
you
it.
had to say.
And they played Tammy Faye Baker and her husband, and they talk about like their media mogul empire and basically ripping off the Christians.
Wow.
And now again, it's Hollywoodized.
Yeah.
So
the eyes of Tammy.
that's
Faye.
it. That's the eyes of
I
Tammy
have
Faye.
not heard of this. I'm glad
so
I did.
I do want to watch it.
I
Yeah.
like Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield. I'd watch that.
And so I'm
I didn't like him
interested
in
to see
Spider-Man,
if,
but I do like him as an actor.
But I'm interested to see what kind of depiction they take because we know how Hollywood just wants to dump on Christians anyway.
Yeah.
So do they take the more approach of this does damage to the overall faith, or do they just say, well, it's all a bunch of malarkey? See, this is our proof.
Yeah.
Look at these two people, these two crooks. So well, I don't know. It'd be a good movie to check out. Maybe not to review, but should check it
When
out.
does it,
It's got to be better than Cry
I
Macho.
wonder when it comes out.
I think it's already out.
Oh, really?
I think it either came out last week or this weekend.
Huh. Well, we'll look that up.
Well,
Are we
but you
going
know-
to review that instead of Venom?
No, we got to do Venom.
I know, I
I
know.
wouldn't mind doing an aside review and like throwing out our 2 cents on it.
We'll
Not an
watch it.
official review.
September 12th.
So yeah, it's out.
Well,
Yeah.
that was
Last
film
Friday.
festival. So September 17th was
last week.
theatrical.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
it. Okay, yeah, last
so it is
weekend.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that let's check out that movie and all the crazy conspiracies we talked about tonight.
Yeah. Hey, if somebody else had a crazy conspiracy and they wanted to share it with us, how would they do that?
I think you know what's so
They would
funny
just
is
keep it to themselves.
I just stole your. I think
No,
I
no,
stole
no,
your,
I think-
stole your job.
no, that was perfect.
Someone
you
needs
led
to.
right into it.
Sometimes we need to just shut Brandon up.
How would they do that, Keith? You have the voice.
They would email us. Hold on. I hear. I have
Ah,
a
it
little
was
crack.
about
I
to
heard it.
crack.
I heard it
You're
crack.
starting to
Hold
sound like
on.
Clint
Hold
Eastwood.
on.
Get a
Hold on.
drink.
You don't want to be.
I don't have
Cry
any coffee
Macho.
left, so-
Yeah, sound like Crab Macho.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Just beautiful, just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Email us there.
I felt
Tell
that
us
it-
about
it
your
was-
crazy
it was
conspiracy.
strained, and I was like, oh man,
Yep.
it'd be RMPodcast at. Let's go to that store.
All right, Joe. Just losing train of thought mid sentence.
Mike. What is his
Listen,
name?
Mike Bilo.
Al.
Mike Milo.
I'm going to go change my socks out of the dryer.
Yes.
Al.
Change
Al
your socks
Bohemian.
out of the dryer.
Everybody in the Bohemian Grove changes their socks out of the dryer.
True.
Indeed. Right there at the bottom of the screen. Email rmpodcast at redmoonproductions.com. As always, you can check out our social links, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and, of course, search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube and subscribe, like, share all of our wonderful content. We appreciate everybody tuning in every single week. We hope you all come back next week. Of course, we love putting on this show every single Tuesday live for you at 9 p.m. on the YouTube and the Facebooks. We can't wait till next week already. I'm already excited for next week's show. I don't even know what it's going to be about, but I'm already excited.
It's going to be about movies.
Movies. It's always about movies. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this week on the Red Moon Podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Until then, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And...
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.